All right, guys, what is happening? Welcome back to the Ironcast, the Ironclad Fitness podcast. Today is the third episode, and you're joined with your hosts, obviously myself and the beautiful Madeline Snacks Fitness. I'm going to make sure, you're welcome. I'm going to make sure that all the links to social media are down in the description below, so you can find my social media there. You can find Maddie's social media there, and of course, social media for the Ironcast and our team page, where you can see the progress of all of our clients. Before we get stuck into today's podcast topic, which is going to be pretty interesting, I wanted to hand over to Maz, and she's going to give you guys a little bit of a recap on how her stage debut with the WBFF Australia went down. So you want to let us how that went, Mads?
Yeah, I was stoked. Guys, I had given this prep my all. I'm just going to say it like... I had such an incredible time, like highs, lows, you name it. And especially just like, I think dissociating myself from the emotion of having Simon as my prep coach as well this time. So it was really like a new experience, I think. And I was so okay with it because I knew that I wanted to do really well this time. So I gave it my all. And I think it was really a great experience in the way that like, I knew that if I wasn't dialing in everything, I was like, why am I prepping? You know, so it really made me focus. And I didn't feel the pressure because like, you know, you were here as well, like watching over me or something like that. I think that's one of the biggest questions people ask me. They're like, oh, how did that go? Like,
You got that asked a few times, but that's not what we want to hear. We want to hear, what was it like competing? What was it like that day of the stage? What were your emotions like? The people at home, they want to know, like, how did you feel on stage? Some of them might not know where you placed. You know, like, give us the rundown. It's a very emotional day, so let us know.
Oh my gosh, guys, I placed fourth in figure, which I had literally wanted to compete in for about 5 years. This was a long time coming, and I felt I didn't feel nervous on the day. I think like I was probably the most nervous just before I stepped on stage for my figure lineup. I think that day. I was competing in fitness and figure that day. So it was like by the time the night was over, I'd been on stage like 8 times and I was so exhausted. Hey, like I got to like the middle of the day. I'd been on stage like 4 times already or 5 times. And I was like so pooped. Hey, like I came out in intermission, like between the day and the night show. And I was like, wow, okay, I'm exhausted. But I was on such an adrenaline high. Like I was rocking it. Like I love being on stage. I love showcasing my personality. And I think like the biggest thing I got out of even just watching back the show was that I knew like where I wanted to pick up for next time, and I knew that like I'd given it my all on the day. I was so happy with like
but what was it like being on stage? What was it like the minute you walked out on stage? I want to know, like, this is what people want to know. People want to compete one day and they want to know, like, what was that feeling like when you walked out on stage and the MC called your number forwards and introduced you?
Oh my God.
What happened? Did you trip over? Like,
I did not trip.
What happened?
I was actually freaked out that I would, but I didn't. I had the most uncomfortable shoes on though, but that's another story. It was so surreal. I think when you get out on stage, like you stop thinking and you just do the things that you like have practiced 1,000 times. It was so surreal. Like, you know, you're doing your thing. All you see is lights. You see like a couple of heads in the crowd, not many. And I think like one of the things that I remember, I went to this workshop once and they said, look at the judges. And I was like, okay, I'm going to look at the judges. And it was kind of like daunting looking at the judges because they're so close to the stage. And I was thinking like, shit, should I? I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so exhilarating, so exciting. It's like so bright up there, you literally forget about thinking. It's like all autonomous. So if you don't know you're posing, like you're basically screwed.
Yeah. And then, so you did the figure lineup and then came back out for the fitness lineup, and there was no call outs in the fitness lineup. And then that was kind of the morning show done, which is pretty much all of the judging.
Yeah.
Between the shows, like when you got off stage for the last time in the morning, how did you feel? How did you feel like you'd done?
I actually was really bummed when it came to fitness. I was kind of devastated that I didn't get a call out. And I had almost felt like, what did I do wrong? But it's funny because like fitness wasn't actually what I wanted to start with. We just entered it because we wanted to know how my body would sit with that lineup and that category. But figure was the one that I really wanted to do well in overall. But because I didn't make the call outs, they only called out the top 3. So you actually didn't know where you placed until after the show, like a few days. So I guess like I was probably upset on the, like at the end of that first, like.
Yeah, but in the figure lineup, because there was 8-9 girls in the figure class, 8 or 9 girls, and they called out 5 girls first. And you weren't in those 5 girls that they called out.
No, they called out 3, I think.
No, they called out 5.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you weren't in those 5.
There you go.
Yeah. And then you all came forwards, and the judges have obviously looked at you, and then, you know, it's become, you know, apparent that you were competitive, and they've scored you appropriately.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually find this out until, you know, a few days later.
Exactly. But yeah, I just really was proud of my efforts. And like, honestly, just to get up there at the end of the day, like you knew that you had given it all and you knew that you made it to stage. Like, I think that was one of the biggest accomplishments. Like, to know that like I had brought it all. And I think I would have felt disappointed in myself if I hadn't done everything like to the T up until that stage day, but I knew that I had, and I was like, I can't give it physically any more than I have right now. So I'm really proud of myself.
No, that's good.
But yeah, it's just like, I think like as soon as the day ended though, I had plans like ready for the next season. Like I knew that I won't be doing season A or B next year. But I knew that, okay, like, I feel like this is where I need to brush up, or this is where, and actually to this moment, we're still waiting for feedback. Yeah. So we're still yet to have that, but.
Yeah, but I mean, looking at the girls that were on stage, on the fitness stage, I mean, they looked great, you know, and you can't take that away from them. Those girls absolutely looked fantastic. Yeah. But compared to you, they were softer, you know. They definitely were. They weren't as lean as you. So... You know, I don't feel like fitness is something where you're going to go, which is interesting because you look at the girls that are winning the WBFF World Fitness title, like Hattie Boydell just won the Fitness World.
In UK,
and then, it wasn't Fitness World, it was the Euro Pro show. Yeah. And she was diced and like really deep leg cuts, deep ab cuts, you know, like glute striations. And that's what's winning a pro show. But when you get on an amateur show and if you're that lean, it's like you don't, you know, like.
I don't know. Maybe it was my stage presence.
Maybe.
I'm not sure.
But then, you know, again, in the figure lineup, the girls, they were leaner and they were harder. And that's obviously what you brought. So it makes sense, which is cool. But that's good anyway.
Look, bodybuilding for me, I'm just going to quickly wrap this up for this one. But bodybuilding for me, if I knew that I didn't have to change, then it wouldn't be a challenge for me. If I knew that I had to grow and become leaner and stuff like that, for me, that's bodybuilding. And that's something I really enjoy. So my persona and where I want to take like my physique, I think that fits better in figure. So I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, that's fair. And, you know, if you get told that you're too big and too lean for stage, then you've done something right.
I think I'll just be like, well, oh well. Tick that box.
Yeah, absolutely. So today, the topic of the third episode, I told you, viewers, you guys, legends, what it was going to be in the second episode. We had Nick Franciscus, the natural pro bodybuilder. And if you haven't seen that episode, the link for that is in the description below or the top corner there of the YouTube video if you're watching. But the topic today is actually steroids in the fitness industry. And I'm not talking about like steroids we will talk about a little bit about steroids in competitive bodybuilding, because obviously that's in the fitness industry, but I'm talking more about like the overuse of anabolic steroids almost as a recreational drug
Yeah.
in the fitness industry. And it's really kind of something that shocked me when I moved to Australia, because when I moved back to Australia after serving in the British military, you don't really get a lot of people that take, I mean, obviously there's people that take steroids in the UK, but, we were literally just watching a guy on YouTube that openly takes, steroids in the UK. But the difference is in the UK, it's legal. Like it's allowed, like in the UK, they have different classes of drugs, right, guys? So in the UK, they're classed like A, B, and C, but I believe here in Australia, they're like 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
And in the UK, anabolic steroids is a class C drug, which is basically the same as like marijuana, like you can have it, you can use it, but you're not allowed to sell it. That's pretty much it.
Okay.
So, and because it's legal-ish, to want of a better term, you can legally have it in your possession and legally use it. I feel like that's one of the reasons like not many people in the UK do it compared to here in Australia. But here in Australia, it's a class 1 drug, which is, and I'm pretty sure that's how they do it 1, 2, and 3 here in Australia. But the highest classification of drug in Australia includes things like, crack cocaine and methamphetamine and heroin, and that's the same category as anabolic steroids in Australia.
Is it really?
Yeah. And I want to tell you a story actually about the first time of my like kind of introduction to the drug culture in the gym.
Please, because I don't think I know this one.
The drug culture in the gym in Australia. And I was, you've met one of these guys as well, but I'm not going to say on the video, obviously, who it was. But it was at the gym. It was the first ever gym I'd worked in. And these guys were talking about the drugs that they were going to take on the weekend and the steroids they were taking through the week, and they were on about like the lines of coke that they were doing off like, toilet blocks in like nightclubs and stuff like that in like, Brisbane City. But I knew full well these guys were on the gas at the same time as well. And I was just like,
healthy.
I spent 14 years getting drug tested every 6 months to make sure I wasn't taking anything I wasn't allowed to take. Yeah. And it was like bewildering,
It's like shock to the system. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and that was my introduction to, not just steroids, but drug culture inside the fitness industry. So what about you, Mads? What's your kind of like, do you have like a first thing that kind of...
shook my socks?
Yeah, shook your socks about steroids and drug culture in the fitness industry.
I think when I started to admire the bodies that I would see on stage, I think like it was a shock when I knew that started to learn about the fact that they weren't natural. And I think that's when I was like, oh, so does that mean I can't be natural to look that way? Do I have to be taking something or like have to learn about this? I was like, who do I turn to then to be able to give me like the right information? And just like bodybuilding in general, just to like look a certain way, I think. Yeah. But just to also know that it was so close to home when I learned that there was like a PT and a gym that I went to that, would sell it from basically his bum bag,
Really?
Yeah. I won't say who or anything.
Have I been to that gym?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Sick. Anyway, moving on. I might try and put like a tumbleweed in the video there, like as it scrolls across the screen. Maybe we'll see how it goes. If you guys see one, you'll know that I managed to do it and it's okay.
He just ended up to be a nice dude. So I was just assuming that you don't really know, they're just nice people.
Wow.
Because they're essentially at the end of the day, they're selling something. So they've got to be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. That's, okay.
And I was like, I think that was my reaction too. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Well, okay. But that's how it starts as well, and that's what we're here to talk about today is, anabolic steroids, and I guess other drugs in in the fitness industry, not just competitive bodybuilding. Now, everyone obviously has their own take on it. You know, like steroids are illegal, drugs are illegal. And when I talk about other drugs in the fitness industry, I'm not just talking about performance enhancing drugs, because there are different types of drugs you can take that aren't classed as steroids, but they still will enhance your look.
Yeah.
Things like clenbuterol and thyroid medication and stuff like that you can buy on the black market, or get a doctor to write you a script if you give him a few extra dollars, I would imagine, for some kind of thyroid medication.
Yeah.
But the whole premise is, it's so rife in the industry, and I kind of forget where I was going with that whole topic.
Like, I guess, like, where, like, why are you did you want to say like who was using it, or like, I guess, like why is it so like shocking?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't, look, we're definitely not going to name names here of anyone. I've been in the fitness industry for 10 years now here in Australia, and I know a lot of people that use drugs to look the way they look, and we're not going to name any names here. That's not what we're here to do.
Actually, I have a question for you. Like, what would be, like, why did those people just take them, throughout the week anyways? Like, were they bodybuilding or? No,
like, and this is what I mean. Like, it's so rife. People would be like, I'm going to get, and there was a thing a few years ago, right? It was like, going to get shredded for stereo. Have you ever heard that term?
I kept using it through prep, and he was like, if you say that one more time, I am gonna like.
Like, we're not married yet, but you're getting a divorce.
I was saying it just for jokes. It's like people used to say it to me, and it used to be like a running joke, like a few years ago, getting shreds for stereo, and I was like, okay,
no. But that was one of the things. Like, I'm gonna get shredded for stereo, and I'm gonna get big, or I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and it was interesting because these people that were using the drugs, like, they're not a competitive bodybuilder, they're not a competitive powerlifter, they're in no competitive sport or anything. It's like dude's a plumber.
Actually, this is what also shocked me, because when I started to learn about it and why people used it, then I saw these people that, in a category, I guess, that we could name just a general, like, went to the gym, lifted weights just to look good for the weekend, basically. And I'm like thinking, like, and I think I asked you, like, at one point in our relationship, I was like, why are these guys doing it then? I don't understand. Why don't they just dial in their nutrition training? And then you were like, well, because that's too easy.
Literally. No, it's
that's
easy.
Too hard.
Yeah, like, it's too hard. It's easy to take. It's easy to take the drug, and we're in a culture nowadays of people that they want everything right here and now. And it's like, you think about, you've got an app that you can order, like Chinese takeaway, or McDonald's, or what's it called here? Hungry Jack's. Literally, like, I didn't want to go out one day. I think, I'm not entirely sure why I didn't want to leave the house.
Because you wanted, like, I don't know, what isn't it, like some cheese or something, and you were like, I'm going to Uber that.
And I Uber Eats like a bag of shredded cheese from the supermarket.
You can do that now. It's like literally an option.
And it's like, and this is the culture we live in right now. It's the here and now. I want something, I'm going to get it now. It's like next day delivery.
Yes.
Some places even offer like same day delivery if they're fairly local to you. I actually found a place that was offering same day delivery today when I was looking for something. Crazy. And it's like, it's the instantaneous culture we live in right now. And I feel like there's so many people that they're going, I'm going to use steroids because I don't want to wait the 4 or 5 years it's going to take me to build that impressive physique. I want to do it in 6 months. But there's so many health implications along the road doing this. And if you're a competitive bodybuilder, or you're somebody that earns money from the way you look, and when I talk about earning money, I don't just mean like, you're just a PT that earns like, $500 a week or something like that. I mean, like, you're the sort of person that earns a really good living that supports more people than yourself, maybe your family, maybe, you have like a a big
A
house, you've got
label
a
or something
label,
like
you've
that,
got a
yeah.
lot of bills to pay,
Sponsorships.
you've got sponsorships to be responsible for, you've got a lot of like responsibilities.
Yeah.
And like if you're the sort of person that's in that boat and you're earning money from your physique that way, or you're earning money from your strength,
Yeah.
be that you're a
big
competitive
time
powerlifter, a competitive
yeah.
like world's strongest man, for example, like, yeah, whatever, go for it. Like you have to weigh up the health implications with that though. But if you're just the dude that, and I'll tell you about this guy as well, if you're just a plumber, and I don't mean just a plumber, like a plumber's no good. I mean, like if you're just a plumber, right? You're not ever going to compete in a bodybuilding show.
Yeah. And have no intention to. Like,
yeah,
I
you
think
get
that's
up at
the
3
difference.
o'clock in the morning because you're a tradie. You don't eat breakfast because it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You don't want to wake your wife and kids up.
Yeah.
You train, you work all day and eat like a pie and have a nice coffee for lunch.
Literally.
Take tren and then go to the gym.
Yeah.
Like, you're a dickhead. Like, straight up.
Only because, like, one, you're not dialing in your nutrition at all. Like,
Yeah.
your body isn't knowing, like, how to actually function properly with proper food.
Yeah.
So, and, like, it has no ability to even grow, develop the way it should, and be supported properly by that. And plus, like, sleeping patterns, I don't know, like just even like down to like your workout structure. So what we're saying is like, unless you've dialed in your nutrition and your workout structure and your sleep and all the rest of it, like why?
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, like enhancements or whatever you use is meant to be like a supplement. So think about it as though like, okay, well, in layman's terms, I guess here, like we could use protein as an example. If you don't want it from food, then you can use a protein powder to like, but in this situation, like this would be to enhance what you can do naturally, like to its fullest extent first. Does that make sense?
No, not at all. No, not at all, because you can't enhance yourself naturally to your fullest extent by using steroids.
No, I mean like you've exhausted like nutrition.
Oh, okay. So you've literally
dialed all of
exhausted
these
everything.
things. Yes.
I'm still disagreeing with that. I'm still full on disagreeing with that. There, I think even if you are, and we go back to the plumber, right? If you're a plumber, okay.
I think I've taken it into like another topic whatsoever, like all at once.
Yeah, like if you're a plumber, right? And we're gonna run out of battery on the camera. And we're back. Sorry about the cut there. We're running out of battery in the actual camera. So we went for a walk. So it's now like half an hour later for us, but literally like 30 seconds later for you guys. But yeah, we didn't talk about it at all on the walk, did we? We spoke about other stuff.
No, we were like actually just like admiring the weather because it's such a nice day. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway, I digress, and I want to disagree with you on that. And Mads is now like, I don't remember what I said because I've gone for a walk.
I never
now.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm going to disagree with Mads. The viewers remember what you said because it was 30 seconds away for them. Mads, you said that, like you were kind of alluding to that you thought it was okay for people to do it if everything else had been dialed in first.
True.
But I'm on the other hand, I'm like, no. I think like unless you are a competitive athlete competing in an organization that allows the use of performance enhancing drugs, then you shouldn't take it. And that's an opinion, and that's my opinion. And, you're entitled to yours and you're entitled to yours, and that's fine.
I think like on that topic, I'm with you there though. Like only if you are competing competitively, obviously, in a federation that allows it.
Yeah, and I feel like because there's so many health implications that come along with it, that it's like, look, if you are watching this or listening to this now and you're just like, oh, like you're a dick, I'm going to do what I want, like I know best, and that's fine, right? You're entitled to that opinion, and I don't.
Everyone is,
Yeah, and I don't hate on you for taking drugs. I don't hate on you for not competing and using steroids, and all that kind of stuff. I don't hate on you at all for it. I just don't think that you should do it because there are health implications, which we'll go into shortly.
Totally.
But I wanted to really talk about, and we're kind of getting away from the topic of the amount of drug use in the industry itself.
Yeah.
And it's rife, and it comes all the way back to what you said earlier, Mads, about
how close to home it is.
No, your
Oh, my experience.
Your experience
like,
about
my
you know,
perception.
it's like seeing girls and guys and being like, oh, like if I want that muscle, do I need to?
Yeah, if I didn't have like the kind of support and mentorship that I did or seeked out in my journey, I think I was really thankful that I had this opinion that I really needed to know more about like how the body worked and stuff like that, and training properly first,
Yeah.
and nutrition. So that was something that really interested me. But if I didn't have that,
Yeah.
I think I would have gone straight into like some, I'm going to just say it, like some idiot's perception of like what I should be taking. And I would probably have taken what they've told me to do. And like, I wouldn't have been able to guarantee that they knew what they were talking about, because they probably might not have been.
Yeah.
And I'm really glad that I listened to my gut.
Yeah, but not as many people are as clued up about you as you about it, and they don't realize that. Daisy, come here. The dog, come on. Don't want you barking. We're trying to do a podcast episode. See, I don't think here on your mat. Come on, pup. I don't think as many people are as clued up to about it as you are, in the fact that you were like, oh, people are going to. That's enough now. People, do I need to take steroids to look that good? You know, I think people don't realize that these people are. They don't even, thought doesn't even cross their mind. They're just like, I can look like that person if I do that person's training program.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, what you don't realize is that person's on drugs.
And that person probably doesn't know what they told me about either.
Yeah.
And they don't actually know how to dial in nutrition and training first.
Yeah. Then, and it's funny because we normally associate like people that use drugs, steroids, testosterone, clenbuterol, tren, this type of stuff. Like we normally associate those people with being big, like big and shredded.
It's funny because most of them probably aren't.
No, I know guys that are in the gym training and they're small and like, you know, they're like they're maybe 5'10" and like 75 kilos, right? And they're taking steroids.
And they've literally like, you've been like, oh, hey man, like, how are you? You've gotten to know them. And then all of a sudden they open up about it. It's like, what?
Right. And so I think what you have to remember is drugs in the fitness industry is rife. Okay. There is so much of it. It's literally like, I would say 60 to 70% of the fitness industry.
Very widely used.
Yeah, definitely widely used. And when I talk about the fitness, I don't just mean the people that just go to the gym, mums dropping their kids off at school and stuff like that. I mean that people that work, live and breathe the fitness industry. You know, like athletes, PTs, people that work in a gym, people that work in a supplement store, that type of stuff, you know? And then you get the membership base of the gym, and it's like, I would say like, depending on the gym you go to, like 50% of the people that go to that gym at 5 o'clock at night, they're on the gas of some description.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely. It's definitely a different breed of person at that time of the day, I think.
That's why I train at 5:30 in the morning. Yeah.
I love the morning vibe. It's a good one. It's like everyone just wants to get in, get out, and just mind their own business.
Yeah, absolutely. But, you know, like these people, these young kids, they're just like, I'm gonna join the gym. I'm gonna take steroids. You know, like when I was
there was one guy actually, and we were training at the gym. Quick story for you all. We were training together, and he goes, "This kid, like, this is the one from the other day that I overheard telling his girlfriend that, like, because this guy, like, it looked like he'd been training for literally like a month, right? He was." Like, I'm not going to say, like, skinny,
I remember.
skinny.
Yeah, I remember now, yeah.
I'm not going to say skinny, but, like, he was so new to the gym. He would have been, like, 18, you know? Like, fresh, doesn't really have too much muscle, like, you know, full muscle at all. Like, real fresh, out of school. And then he was to his missus.
Yeah, it was like straight up.
I can't wait till I'm like on the gas.
Yeah, it was like straight up. He just looked straight at her, and she was like, he did something, and he was like a really strong lift, and it was good. Do you know what I mean? And she was like, oh, that's really strong, and he was like, yeah, just wait till I'm on test. And it was like, it was full on like, and you can tell when someone's joking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he
like,
was not joking.
Like our client Zark jokes about it all the time, right? But this guy, well, there was no joke. I mean, like maybe he's really dry. Do you know what I mean? But like, yeah, there was no joke.
Yeah. I had this impression that he was not joking.
But the health implications that come with that is it's like, you know, people join the gym to get fit and healthy, you know, and then why, if you've joined the gym to get fit and healthy, will you take a compound that is going to do things like increase blood pressure, you know, increase cholesterol, decrease the production of testosterone in the body to the point where the body may never produce it ever again.
Exactly.
You know, and with that increase in blood pressure, if it's not monitored, can increase the thickness of the walls in the heart that can lead to heart attacks and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. I think like the biggest story that I get, you know, working in the gym as a PT myself, I get a lot of stories from guys who will open up about like their use of testosterone and how they, you know, when they were like 22, 23, these guys are like 35, you know, 37 now. So they're pretty open about the fact that when they were younger, they literally just like took more tests than what they probably should have. And they were just like this plumber guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, smashing it. And they're like, I'm going to get the best results. And then ages later, like these guys still have to get it, pay for it. And they don't want to, but now they're at this point where their body doesn't actually naturally produce it anymore.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
they're really minimal. And if they stop having it, they might suffer other implications such as mental well-being and also,
Big
you know,
time.
what else can you suffer from that?
Well, I mean, infertility is one, like full on, and not just men, women. Women take drugs as well. Women take steroids as well. And women, like, you're literally messing with your endocrine system, which is the body, the system inside the body that produces hormones, right? So if you take steroids to the point where your menstrual cycle stops, if it never comes back again, you're infertile, which means you're never going to have kids, right? And for some of you, that might be okay. Do you know what I mean? But But yeah, you know, it's not.
But if you planned on it, like.
Yeah. But you know, and the same happens with men. You know, like men can become infertile from steroids, from, you know, taking testosterone and stuff like that as well. And it's one of these things that the industry as a whole and you as the listener, you know, needs to be more aware of and make an educated decision on if it's something you actually want to go down. Are you prepared to risk your health for, you know, what could potentially happen? You know, like, do you want kids later on in life and all this kind of stuff as well?
Yeah, one of my biggest questions as I was new to the industry like a few years ago, one of my biggest questions was, would it be risky to do it? Like, when do you know when you're ready for that kind of thing? And really, like, the answer to those two things is, like, first of all, you'll never know when you're ready because it's literally like, it's a choice thing all the time because you can always get better results naturally from your nutritional training. And then there's also the fact of, like, you know, who do you go to for that kind of advice? So
well, you can't. There is no qualification that you can go to someone and say, if I take this drug, what will it do in my body?
Exactly.
There is no qualification. There's no insurance for it. It's an illegal substance. If you're getting drug advice from someone, there has to be somebody you trust because, you know, there is no qualification. There's no way you can be insured to get prescribed Anavar and Tren and Clen and Dianabol and, like, you can't, right? There's no such thing. So if someone's saying to you, you need to take this X, Y, and Z, you know, you really need to kind of think about, does this person have your best interest at heart? If you're just a guy that wants to lose 50 kilos and he's saying you need to take 50 milligrams of Clen, probably doesn't have your best interest at heart, you know? And I'm going to wrap this up answering your question about when do you know you're ready to take steroids? And it's like you said, it's your choice. Right? It's nobody else's, it's your choice. If you have exhausted all natural avenues, if you've got to the point where you've been training consecutively for 4 or 5 years, you've been dieting properly, you've been eating the right foods, you've been progressively overloading your training, and you've been consistent, and you've got to the point where you've plateaued and you've tried other things, you've tried different training principles and different training regimes, tried messing around with your calories and stuff like that, hired a coach and tried to get that extra bit further, but you just find you're not getting anywhere, that's when you could potentially, if you wanted to, make the choice, you know, to go down the enhanced route. But apart from that, I think, you know, it's like one of those things. It's like shove it on the back burner. You know, if you haven't exhausted your entire natural physique yet, don't even think about it.
Yeah.
You know,
and the ball's in your court from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So that is us for today. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. That was the third episode. We haven't actually yet decided on what the topic of the 4th episode is going to
It's
be.
a lucky dip, I think. We're just going to...
I've got a few things in my head though.
Yeah,
so,
decide on one later.
But we will post up on the Instagram page what the 4th episode is going to be. So thank you so much for joining us.
It's gonna be saucy
Again,
anyway.
please subscribe to the YouTube channel, like and follow our posts on the Instagram page, and our personal profile links are in the description of the video on YouTube and the description in the Spotify link to listen and watch this episode as well. So guys, thank you so much.
Love that. Bye, guys.